The Nile, a ribbon of life flowing through the heart of Africa, has nurtured civilizations for millennia. Along its banks, kingdoms rose and fell, leaving behind echoes of their grandeur in stone and story. One such kingdom, a beacon of wealth and power, was Nubia. A land of golden sands and fertile plains, Nubia thrived on the eastern banks of the great river. Here, under a sky ablaze with stars, a proud and ancient people forged their destiny. They were renowned for their mastery of archery, their shimmering ebony skin, and their fierce independence. The Nubians were a people who bowed to no foreign power, their spirit as untamed as the lions that roamed their southern borders. For centuries, Nubia stood as a bastion of civilization, a kingdom rich in gold, ivory, and exotic goods. Its capital, Meroe, was a bustling metropolis, a testament to Nubian artistry and architectural prowess. Here, amidst towering pyramids and majestic temples, a dynasty of warrior queens ruled with wisdom and strength. These were the Kandakis, the female monarchs who held the fate of Nubia in their hands. They were revered as living goddesses, their words law, their commands unquestioned. The Kandaks were not mere figureheads. They were trained from birth to rule with an iron hand. They rode into battle alongside their warriors, their voices urging their troops forward. Their courage was legendary, their names whispered with reverence throughout the land. It was into this lineage of extraordinary women that Amanir was born, destined to become a legend in her own right. Her story, however, is not just about the splendor of Nubia, but also about the clash of civilizations, a testament to the enduring spirit of a people determined to protect their homeland from an encroaching empire. Amanir, the one who is beloved, ascended to the throne of Nubia. She was a woman of formidable presence, her spirit unyielding. Even the mark of battle did nothing to diminish her fierce beauty. It served as a reminder of her unwavering resolve. From a young age, Amanir was groomed for leadership. She excelled in the art of war and combat strategy. Her education extended to diplomacy and governance. She understood the importance of alliances against Roman expansion. When she became Kandake, Nubia was at its zenith. Yet a shadow loomed on the horizon. Amanir knew a storm was brewing and prepared for battle. Far to the north, across the Mediterranean Sea, the Roman Republic, having weathered its own internal storms, had emerged as an empire. At its helm stood Augustus Caesar, a shrewd and ambitious ruler, determined to expand Rome's dominion to the ends of the known world. Egypt, the breadbasket of the Mediterranean and a land of immense wealth, had fallen under Rome's control, bringing Roman legions uncomfortably close to Nubian borders. Augustus, eager to secure Rome's eastern flank and replenish the empire's coffers, turned his gaze southward towards the gold-rich kingdom of Nubia. Roman incursions into Nubian territory had been met with fierce resistance in the past, a testament to the Nubians' warrior spirit. However, Augustus, emboldened by recent victories and confident in the might of his legions, believed that Nubia would eventually succumb to Roman pressure. What Augustus failed to grasp was the indomitable spirit of the Nubian people and the strategic brilliance of their queen. Amanir was not a ruler who would readily surrender her kingdom's hard-won independence. She had watched the Romans expand their empire, leaving a trail of conquered nations in their wake. Amanir vowed that Nubia would not suffer the same fate. She would meet Roman aggression with the full force of her kingdom's might. In 24 BC, the inevitable clash occurred. Roman legions, led by the ambitious governor of Roman Egypt, Cornelius Gallus, crossed the border into Nubia, their standards held high, their armor glinting in the African sun. Their objective was clear: to subdue the Nubians, seize their gold, and add another jewel to the Roman crown. What awaited them, however, was not a swift victory, but a protracted and bloody conflict that would test the limits of Roman military prowess. The ancient city of Syene shimmered under the relentless desert sun. A crossroads of cultures, Syene was a melting pot of Roman legionaries, Nubian traders, Greek merchants, and desert nomads. The air buzzed with languages, spices, and the clinking of Roman denarii. This vibrant hub held a sinister secret. Cornelius Gallus, the ambitious Roman governor, sought to expand Rome's dominion. he heard whispers of Nubia's legendary wealth, caravans laden with ivory and perfumes, and a queen with the heart of a lioness. These whispers lured him southward. Gallus, however, was not a fool. He knew a direct assault would be met with fierce resistance. The Nubians were renowned for their warrior spirit and archery. A direct confrontation would be costly. Instead, he devised a cunning plan. Gallus sowed seeds of discontent among Nubian traders. He spread rumors of Roman support for rival factions. His whispers promised wealth and power, swaying loyalties with the allure of Roman gold. News of Gallus's treachery reached Amanir in her palace in Meroe. The queen, known for her composure, felt a surge of fury. The Romans had come as cunning wolves in sheep's clothing. Amanir was not a ruler who responded to threats with fear. She possessed the heart of a warrior. The drums of war would soon echo across the Nile. Nubia would strike first, swiftly and decisively. The attack would be swift, brutal, and decisive. The Roman Empire, under Augustus Caesar, prided itself on its military prowess. Their legions conquered vast territories, from Britannia to North Africa. Roman strategy blended brute force and cunning tactics. They were, however, not invincible. Success relied on clear lines of communication and supply. This reliance was a strategic vulnerability. Amanir exploited the harsh desert landscape. The Nubians, children of the desert, moved with grace. They knew hidden oases and red sandstorm signs. This understanding was crucial in conflict. Nubian archers used deadly poisons. Their cavalry struck quickly and vanished. Amanir planned to use the desert to weaken the Romans. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the desert sands, the drums of war echoed across the Nile. In the heart of Nubia, Amanir rallied her forces, her voice ringing out with a mix of defiance and determination. Nubian warriors, both men and women, answered their queen's call, their eyes burning with a fierce loyalty, their bodies honed for battle. The Nubian army was a sight to behold, a testament to the kingdom's egalitarian society. Women fought alongside men, their bravery and skill in battle equal to their male counterparts. They were armed with bows and arrows, their aim as deadly as the venom that tipped their projectiles. Others wielded spears and swords, their bodies adorned with the scars of past conflicts, their movements fluid and lethal. The Nubian cavalry, the pride of the kingdom, was a whirlwind of dust and steel. Mounted on swift desert horses, these warriors were the eyes and ears of the army, scouting ahead, harassing enemy flanks, and disappearing into the shimmering heat haze before their pursuers could react. Their arrows rained down on the enemy with deadly accuracy, their curved swords reaping a bloody toll. As the stars twinkled above the desert sands, Amanir led her forces north, their movements as silent and deadly as a desert viper. Their destination, the Roman garrison at Syene. The Lioness of Nubia was on the prowl, and the Romans, blinded by their arrogance and greed, would soon learn that they had awakened a fearsome enemy, one that would defend its homeland with the ferocity of a lioness protecting her cubs. The ancient city of Syene, bathed in the soft glow of a waning moon, seemed oblivious to the storm that was about to break. The Roman garrison, accustomed to the tranquility of their southern outpost, had grown complacent. They had underestimated their adversary, mistaking Nubian silence for weakness. Amanir, her face obscured by a bronze war mask, watched as her forces surrounded the city. She had chosen the hour just before dawn, when shadows danced deceptively in the moonlight. The desert wind had fallen silent, holding its breath in anticipation. The fate of Nubia rested on this surprise attack. With a gesture, the queen unleashed her warriors. Nubian archers emerged, their arrows finding their marks with deadly accuracy. Roman sentries, caught off guard, slumped to the ground. The sudden attack sowed panic among the Roman ranks. Nubian warriors surged through the city gates, reaping a bloody toll. The Romans fought back with desperation, but they were no match for the fury of the Nubian onslaught. The heart of the Roman garrison was marked by a towering bronze eagle, its its wings outstretched in a symbol of Roman might. For Amanir, this eagle represented the arrogance of her enemy, their belief that they could march unopposed into the heart of Africa and claim it as their own. The queen, her own heart ablaze with righteous fury, resolved to tear down this symbol of Roman oppression. Leading a small contingent of her most trusted warriors, Amanir plunged into the heart of the battle, her voice a rallying cry amidst the clash of steel. The queen, wielding a double-edged sword with deadly grace, moved through the chaos like a vengeful spirit, her every strike finding its mark. Roman soldiers, recognizing the queen by her distinctive war mask, hesitated, their discipline momentarily forgotten. Amanir, sensing their fear, pressed her advantage, her sword flashing like lightning. The Nubians, inspired by their queen's courage, fought with a ferocity that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned Roman legionaries. Reaching the base of the bronze eagle, Amanir, with a mighty heave, drove her sword deep into the eagle's chest. With a final defiant cry, the queen toppled the symbol of Roman power, sending it crashing to the ground. The resounding boom echoed across the battlefield, signaling a decisive shift in the balance of power. The fall of Siena sent shockwaves throughout the Roman Empire. Cornelius Gallus, enraged by the Nubian queen's audacity, vowed swift and brutal retribution. He assembled a larger force and marched south, determined to crush Amanir and her rebellious subjects. What followed was a protracted and bloody conflict across the scorching sands of southern Egypt and northern Nubia. Amanir, a master strategist, refused to engage the Romans in a traditional head-on confrontation. Instead, she waged a war of attrition, a desert dance of hit-and-run attacks, strategic retreats, and cunning ambushes. The Nubians, familiar with the treacherous terrain, used the desert as a weapon. They struck Roman supply lines under the cover of sandstorms, poisoned wells, and vanished into the vastness of the Sahara. The Romans, accustomed to fighting on open battlefields, found themselves bogged down in a hostile land. Amanir, leading from the front, was a constant thorn in the side of the Roman war machine. Her name became a whisper among the legionaries, a source of both fear and grudging respect. The Lioness of Nubia, they realized, was not an enemy to be underestimated. She was a force of nature, as unpredictable and dangerous as the desert itself. Section 4. The Phantoms of the Dunes. The desert wind played havoc with the Roman banners, twisting them into grotesque shapes. Gallus, his face burned by the relentless sun, watched in frustration as his scouts returned empty-handed. They melt away like phantoms, one scout reported, vanishing into the dunes as if swallowed by the earth itself. Gallus cursed under his breath. He had underestimated the cunning of his adversary. His legions, once the pride of Rome, were now shadows of their former selves. The Roman governor had hoped for a swift and decisive victory. Instead, he found himself mired in a war that seemed to have no end. As the sun began its final descent, casting long shadows across the dunes, Gallus made a decision. He would withdraw his forces northward, back to the relative safety of the Roman forts that dotted the Nile. It was a bitter pill to swallow, an acknowledgement of his failure to bring the Nubian queen to heel. But Gallus, a pragmatist at heart, knew that to continue this campaign was to court disaster. He would live to fight another day, to seek his vengeance against the Lioness of Nubia when the time was right. Section 1. The Ruins of Primis. The desert wind whipped across the ancient ruins of Primis, once a bustling Roman outpost, now a desolate testament to the shifting tides of war. Broken columns, toppled statues, and scattered debris littered the landscape. The air, thick with the stench of sweat, blood, and fear, hummed with the anticipation of a coming storm. Casa Ibrim, a formidable fortress perched atop a sheer cliff overlooking a bend in the Nile, stood defiant. Its walls, scarred but unbroken, still bore the marks of recent Nubian assaults. From their vantage point high above the river, Roman sentries watched with growing unease as a vast Nubian army, led by the indomitable Amanir, emerged from the shimmering heat haze. Cornelius Gallus, his armor polished to a dull sheen, his face a mask of grim determination, paced the parapet. He had retreated to Qasr Ibrim after the disastrous campaign in the south. The fortress, he knew, was his last line of defense, a strategic choke point along the Nile. But Gallus, a seasoned commander, harbored no illusions about the gravity of his situation. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and facing an enemy fueled by righteous fury. The Nubian army, a tapestry of dark skin tones, vibrant colors, and gleaming weaponry, advanced with an eerie silence. They had come seeking vengeance for Roman transgressions, to reclaim what had been taken. And at their head, a beacon of defiance amidst the swirling chaos, rode Amanir, the Lioness of Nubia. Section 2. A Queen's Gambit. Amanir, her war mask reflecting the harsh glare of the desert sun, surveyed the battlefield with the keen eye of a seasoned hunter. Qasr Ibrim, she knew, was a formidable obstacle, its defenses strengthened by Roman engineering. A direct assault, while tempting, would result in heavy casualties. The Queen, however, had not earned her reputation as a cunning tactician through brute force alone. She understood that the art of war lay not just in knowing when to strike, but also in knowing when to hold back. And in this desolate landscape where water was more precious than gold, Amanir saw an opportunity to outmaneuver her enemy. The Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, flowed past Qasr Ibrim, its waters a tempting target for a garrison parched by the desert heat. Amanir, drawing upon her knowledge of ancient Nubian engineering, devised a daring plan. Under the cover of darkness, Nubian engineers began diverting a small tributary of the Nile. It was a slow and laborious process, one that had to be carried out with the utmost secrecy. As the days turned into nights, the water level in the cisterns beneath Qasr Ibrim began to drop. Section 3. The Clash of Eagles and Lions. The Roman legionaries, their throats parched, watched with growing alarm as the water level in their cisterns dropped. Panic began to spread through the ranks like wildfire. Gallus, sensing the desperation of his men, knew that time was running out. He had to act, and act decisively. With a heavy heart, Gallus ordered a sortie, a desperate gamble to break through the Nubian lines and reach the river. He assembled his most seasoned legionaries, their armor gleaming under the scorching sun. They charged out of the fortress gates, their shields interlocked, their swords thirsting for blood. The Nubians, anticipating the Roman attack, met their charge head-on. The legionaries, their discipline and training evident, fought like cornered lions. But the Nubians, fueled by a righteous fury, stood their ground. Amanir, mounted on her war elephant, watched the battle unfold from atop a nearby ridge. She had anticipated Gallus's desperation and had positioned her forces accordingly. Section 4. The Red Fury of the Nile. As the battle raged around Qasr Ibrim, a distant roar echoed across the battlefield. At first, it was barely perceptible, lost amidst the clash of steel and the screams of the wounded. But as the sound grew louder, a sense of dread settled over the Roman legionaries. They had heard that sound before, whispered about in hushed tones around campfires. The Nubian engineers, their task complete, had unleashed the fury of the Nile. The diverted tributary, swollen with rainwater, surged through the channel they had carved. The Romans, their formation broken, looked up in horror as the wall of water slammed into their lines. The ground beneath their feet transformed into a quagmire, swallowing men and horses alike. Amanir, watching from her vantage point, felt a surge of grim satisfaction as the Nile claimed her enemies. The Romans, masters of so much of the known world, had been brought low by the very river they had sought to control. Section 5. A King's Ransom. The Battle of Qasr Ibrim, a resounding victory for Amanir and her Nubian forces, marked a turning point in the war against Rome. The Romans, their legions shattered, retreated north, pondering the folly of underestimating the Lioness of Nubia. Word of the Nubian victory spread like wildfire, reaching the ears of Augustus Caesar in distant Rome. The emperor, accustomed to the triumphs of his legions, was enraged by this humiliating defeat. He vowed to avenge this insult, to crush Amanir and her rebellious kingdom. But wiser counsel prevailed. Rome, already embroiled in conflicts along its vast borders, could ill afford a protracted and costly war in a land as unforgiving as Nubia. Negotiations began, fraught with tension and mistrust, but ultimately driven by a mutual desire to end the bloodshed. Amanir, ever the pragmatist, knew that while she had won a decisive victory, she could not hope to defeat Rome outright. Her kingdom, still recovering from the war, needed time to rebuild. The resulting treaty was a testament to Amanir's diplomatic skills. Rome, acknowledging Nubian independence, agreed to withdraw its forces from all disputed territories. Moreover, Rome agreed to pay an annual tribute to Nubia, a symbolic acknowledgement of the kingdom's power. The Lioness of Nubia, having stared down the might of Rome, had emerged from the conflict victorious, her legend secure. Victory had a taste, Amanir mused, and it was bittersweet. The cheers of her people, the joyous drumming and dancing in the streets of Meroe, were a balm to her weary soul. The sight of Roman standards retreating north, their bronze eagles drooping like wilted flowers, filled her with a profound sense of satisfaction. Yet the weight of victory, the memory of lives lost, of sacrifices made, pressed down on her like the desert heat. The triumph came at a cost, a truth whispered in the empty spaces left by fallen warriors. The queen, her one good eye reflecting the wisdom of a ruler who had stared into the abyss and emerged unbroken, understood that true victory lay not just in vanquishing one's enemies, but in securing a lasting peace, a peace that would allow her people to heal, to prosper, to reclaim their rightful place as a beacon of civilization along the banks of the Nile. Years turned into decades, the memory of the war against Rome fading into legend, a tale whispered around campfires. Amanir, now with silver-streaked hair, ruled Nubia with wisdom and foresight. She became an icon of Nubian resilience, synonymous with courage and intelligence. Under her reign, Nubia experienced a golden age of peace and prosperity. Trade flourished, and the arts and sciences thrived. Temples and pyramids rose along the Nile, inscribed with her victories. Her daughter, trained in leadership, was ready to assume the mantle of Kandake. The Lioness of Nubia, her legacy secure, faced the setting sun, knowing her kingdom was in capable hands. Time, that relentless sculptor of history, has obscured some details of Amanir's life. Yet her legacy, forged in resistance against a mighty empire, has endured for millennia. In Amanir, Rome encountered a force more formidable than any legion. Her victory, a testament to strategic brilliance, forced Rome to reconsider its ambitions. Today, Amanir remains a potent symbol of resistance against tyranny. The Nile flows on, a timeless witness to the rise and fall of empires, its waters carrying whispers of forgotten kingdoms and legendary rulers. Such is the story of Amanir, the Lioness of Nubia. When a distant empire threatened to engulf her homeland, Amanir did not cower. She rose, a warrior queen adorned in bronze and fury, her spirit a beacon of defiance that rallied her people. The Lioness of Nubia, her name once whispered in fear by Roman legionnaires, now echoes through history as a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Though centuries have passed since Amanir walked the earth, her spirit lives on. Her legacy transcends time and place, a universal anthem of resistance. In a world grappling with colonialism's legacy, her story reminds us the fight for freedom is never over. True strength lies in the courage of our convictions. Amanir's legacy lives on in acts of courage and defiance. Her roar still echoes, a call to action for all who believe in the human spirit. Let her story inspire us to create a just and equitable world.